Hello everybody, it's me, Creature Hunt Guy. Don't mind the noise in the background, it's just the vacuum cleaner. Well, I looked on YouTube the other day and saw that it was 2 months since I last did my Godzilla review. And since I said that I would probably be doing, that I would be going all the way through in chronological order of all the Godzilla movies, I thought it was probably about time I got started doing that. So, without further ado, I am now declaring this the year of Godzilla, and also that I will be continuing what I call Godzilla-THON. So, let's start off with the direct sequel to Godzilla. Last time on Godzilla, he died. Perfect place for a sequel, wouldn't you think? Godzilla raids again. Well, this is an awesome movie. I mean, it's not awesome, but why don't I just tell you a little bit about it? It came out in 1955. It's probably the least seen Godzilla movie of all of them. In fact, I only saw it myself just a few years ago when I first found out it existed. And as a kid, I had no idea. And but it's the second, it's one of only 2 black and white Godzilla movies, the first being the original one. This was the direct sequel, came the year after the first one. And it even has a returning character for a short amount of time, and that would be Dr. Yamane. He's actually in this movie. I saw him and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Dr. Yamane, he's here! It's actually quite amazing. But yes, and there was actually one of the earliest examples of continuity between Godzilla movies. Later on, that the movie series would lose that, but it was nice to see for the first 2 anyway. But anyway, as was mentioned in the first Godzilla movie, there could be other Godzillas out there, and when 2 pilots are out on an island, they find it. But not just Godzilla. There is a giant Godzilla, but it's fighting another giant monster. This is the first giant monster Godzilla fights in ever. I mean, it's not just Godzilla this time. It's Godzilla versus Anguirus? What? Yes, this is the very first time you see Anguirus in any of the movies. It didn't have its own movie before itself. It didn't have its own something. This is where we meet Anguirus, and this is where Godzilla fights Anguirus. And it was just amazing to see. Anguirus does look a little different than what he would later look like, but it is definitely him. And man, he's got a lot of fight in him too. We were also given a little bit of backstory about how Godzilla and Anguirus are possibly dinosaurs that were awakened by the hydrogen bomb. And I have my own theories about that. I think that they were dinosaurs that were dormant or something, but they were mutated into giant monsters, because dinosaurs didn't get that big. And I think they may have said that in the first Godzilla movie. They didn't say that with Anguirus, they just called him Ankylosaur or Anguirus. I don't know. But I would say that's just my own personal theory. You can say what you want, but I think that's probably what they were trying to say there. But anyway, with all the technical stuff aside, this is the story. So a pilot is out one day and he's running out of gas. His pilot buddy comes out to help him to get him off an island that he had landed on for an emergency. Whilst on that island, they see 2 monsters fighting, Godzilla and Anguirus. They then go quickly back to Osaka, their city that they come from, and they tell everyone about it. That's where they get the help of Dr. Yamane. Dr. Yamane tells them that, well, there's basically no hope because we lost the only person that could kill Godzilla the first time, Dr. Serizawa. And so they tell the military, and the military is basically just like, well, we're gonna do it anyway. They try to lure Godzilla away with the use of flares, because it reminds him of the hydrogen explosion. Godzilla and Anguirus have a giant knockdown drag-out in Osaka, and he basically kills Anguirus, which was kind of weird to see, but yeah, Anguirus is dead. How does these guys come back? I don't know, but we'll see. That's for a later movie. For now, Anguirus is dead, and Godzilla is wandering around in the Osaka Bay, looking at flares until an explosion on the mainland, or explosion on the island, draws them back towards Osaka. But the military decides that there is a possibility of entrapping Godzilla where he is where they find him later on, in some sort of not an ice wilderness sort of area. It's not like the Arctic, but it's kind of like the Arctic in that it's all icebergs and stuff, so I don't know. But anyway, I didn't quite catch that little minute thing there. But anyway, they have, at the expense of the main character's best friend, they decide to entrap him in the ice, and that's exactly what they do. They fire, all the jets come out, and they fire at the icebergs, and they cover Godzilla up to the top of his head in ice, where he hopefully will remain dormant, at least until they need another movie. So in this movie, they actually don't technically kill Godzilla, they just bury him with ice, which, how do they think that would stop him in any way? I mean, supposedly in the movie we're supposed to think, okay, he's there and we'll never see him again, but this creature survived as a dormant dinosaur. It survived a hydrogen bomb, and they think being covered in ice is gonna stop it? I don't get that. But, yes, that's the story. The story is pretty good. It's a normal story for sci-fi movies back then. It's okay. The acting, I saw the original Japanese version, so I can only say that it looked like they were acting pretty good. I didn't have any dubbing over, so their voice intonations told me that they probably were sincere, if that's what a sincere person sounds like when you're speaking Japanese. Like I said, I don't know. I don't speak Japanese. But yes, I did see the original Japanese version. There are at least a few versions that I'm aware of. There's the American dubbed version, which I didn't see. Or actually, I have seen, but then there's also the American bootleg version or something like that. It's called Gigantus the Fire Monster, and that would be them just renaming Godzilla Gigantus and taking footage from this movie with American actors. Sort of what like they did with Raymond Burr in the first Godzilla movie. And then I think there's something called the Two Volcano Monsters. I don't know, I've never seen that either. If you guys have any information on that, just go ahead and put in the comments, because I really don't know. All I can say is that I want to watch, that I'm reviewing for you for Godzilla-THON, all the original Japanese versions, or at least the ones that I can find that are the most original and untampered with. And as for this one, this is the original, and I gotta say, it's a pretty solid movie. It's not all that bad, really. I mean, there are no annoying characters. There's no totally outlandish plots. I mean, it all seems pretty solid, pretty down to earth and normal, you know. Which is what I like in a Godzilla movie. I really do. And I gotta say, we get to see a lot of okay, guys, I don't know how to say his name, but he's the special effects director for most of the Showa era Godzilla movies. And he's the one that started the whole using miniature tanks and stuff and little tiny pop explosions with the Godzilla suits. And you get to see a lot more of that shine in this movie. It's sure by today's standards it's corny, but I mean back then it was really, you know, it was really cool, I think. And it's just neat to see it all start happening in this movie. And basically, it's following a pattern that Godzilla movies for another 20 years are going to follow in this movie. Along with setting precedents for later Godzilla movies, it also does follow the same example of example and standards of the first Godzilla movie, in that it does take a more darker tone. It isn't quite as lighthearted. The characters aren't quite as grim and dark as they were in the first movie, which is nice, but the overall tone of the movie is kind of more of a darker tone than compared to later Godzilla movies, believe me. But yeah, it does follow in pretty succinct style with the original Godzilla movie, in that it is sort of a darker tone to it. And lastly, I want to talk about the monsters. I'm going to kind of nerd out here, but I love the Godzilla suit. It's just cool. It looks a lot more versatile and durable than the first Godzilla suit. But in this one, I love the face. I don't know why. I just like it. And it's one that you don't see a lot because, like I said, people don't see this movie a whole lot. And Gyrus, I love Gyrus in this movie. He's just, I don't know, he's like the bulldog of monsters. He can, I mean, when he and Godzilla are going at it, you know, Godzilla's just kind of walking around, you know, the way he does, and Gyrus, he's just, no, you know, none of that. He's just gonna go right for the jugular. I love it. I love little short, squat, you know, no-nonsense critters. I might have to rename you. But yes, Gyrus is totally awesome. I know a lot of people don't think he is, but I think he's really cool. I don't see why you wouldn't like him. And maybe it's because I'm a little partial to that, but still, I think he's really neat, and he was probably one of the best parts of this movie to me, to tell you the truth. So, Godzilla raids again. And it's on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being a masterpiece of Godzilla movies and 1 being an embarrassment to the franchise. I'd say that this movie probably rates along a 3 or a 4. And I would say, I'd go ahead and say 4. It's actually probably one of the stronger Godzilla movies out there, I really gotta say. Good characters, good storyline, simple but good, makes sense. A neat monster fight that doesn't take all day, and just, it's solid all the way around, I can say. So I'd say it's a 4 out of 5 stars. And basically, if you haven't seen this, which there is a more likely chance that you haven't than you have, but if you have not seen this, I would say go watch it if you're a fan of Godzilla movies or old sci-fi movies. If you like the first one, you probably will like this one. It's not quite as, you know, deep as the first one was, but it's still pretty good, and it is a direct sequel. So that is Godzilla Raids Again, and I'd say go watch it without any further interruptions. And until next time, when I will resume Godzilla-Thon, I'm Creature Hunt Guy saying, see you later.